least 5 park officials have been killed when armed men attacked the National Park office in Oloka, Orire local government area of Oyo State. The incident occurred at about 9 p.m. on Tuesday. In a statement made available to Arise News, the Oyo State Police Command confirmed the attack and explained that tactical teams led by the State's Commissioner of Police, Femi Aruna, have been drafted to the crime scene to unravel the circumstances surrounding the incident and forestall a breakdown of law and order. The Commissioner of Police directed the reinforcement of personnel, including the deployment of additional intelligence operatives alongside tactical teams and mobile personnel to strengthen surveillance, intelligence gathering, and rapid response capabilities within the axis. According to the police, preliminary reports indicate that attackers numbering about 12 emerged from adjoining bushes, opened sporadic gunfire on Rangers' office and fled the scene.
Now, let's have a conversation on insecurity. Nigeria's security situation is at what we can call a dire phase, from terrorism to banditry to secessionist violence, and now a rising global military tension or tensions. The question is no longer whether Nigeria is under threat, but how exposed the state truly is. Now, following the recent Trump-era strike and the ongoing global mopping up operations against non-state actors, power dynamics are shifting. Strong nations are drawing clear red lines. Weak states are becoming theaters. Well, with us this morning is General Rogers Nicholas, former theater commander Operation Lafia Dole and former commander Special Task Force Plateau and Southern Kaduna. He is a retired general who understands warfare beyond the battlefield. General Nicholas, welcome to Daybreak.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigerians.
Now, talking about mopping up operations, apparently that seems to be lacking when it comes to Nigeria's security architecture. That attack on insurgents and terrorists in the northern part of the country, of course, you know that the elements, some elements would have escaped, actually faded into the surrounding communities while the others would keep moving southwards. And it appears as a consequence we are having increased attacks in Niger State, in Oyo State, in Benue State, in Kwara State. So unfortunately, it appears that there is a major gap in Nigeria's security architecture that actually permits terrorists to continue to act even after they appear to be on the back foot.
Yeah, the situation is very dynamic because there are so many things, so many gaps in our security system. One major gap is the issue of capability. Capability. What can we do? Capacity. What do we produce? That kind of a thing. So when there is that gap, people take advantage, the terrorists take advantage, and they move away fast. But I will say that I think the military is doing their best, and other security agents are doing their best to make sure they curtail the situation. And around the theaters across the nation, there have been positive results. The military have been engaging these terrorists who are fleeing, and a lot of damage has been done on them, both from the Air Force, the Land Force, and even the maritime agents, including the other security agencies, the DSS and the police. We are doing our best, even though the best cannot be said to be the best for now, but I think we are doing enough. But what I think the general public, the locals, through where these people flee, should be able to also bring up information as quickly as possible to the security agencies to be able to follow up. So these are some of the challenges.
Now, one of the challenges as well that people seem to be facing is this overlap in the type of, attacks. How dangerous is this overlap between this banditry, there's terrorism, there's communal conflict? Everything is now starting to mesh and look like one.
Yes, because we give it a correlative name. We call this one bandits, we call this one IPOB, and we call this one terrorists. They're all terrorists by designation. So we need to come out with a framework and term these people terrorists so that they can be dealt with as terrorists. You know, but having said that, I think the government has to also declare war on all these things we are doing. We've been saying these things and then doing, but the government of Nigeria has not come out to declare war on terrorism, so to say. All we're doing is because when you declare war, all the elements of national power comes to play. But for now, we are just, leaving it to security agencies to handle. Other stakeholders have not come to play. The civil component is not playing out well. The community resilience is not playing out well. So you leave everything to the security agencies, the military, the DSS, the police and others. That's not enough. It has to be a holistic national approach towards solving the national problem as regards insecurity.
Okay, now when, just following up with the deadly and precision strike by the U.S. government, one would have expected a swift and prompt mop-up exercise by the Nigerian government. But many people feel that the response has been very sloppy indeed. And when you look at the fact that there was intelligence gathering, that there are some infiltration of terrorist elements immediately after the attack in areas of like Benue State in the Middle Belt axis, and nothing much was done. And that takes us back to that question that intelligence also was provided just hours before the abduction took place in Niger State, as in the case of Papiri, and there was no action to that effect. So how would you respond to this very visibly compromised security and poorly driven intelligence architecture?
Well, first, I think we need to understand the fact that one thing is for you to get intelligence, the timely intelligence. Secondly, is for you to have the capability to deal with the situation. Now, one of the major problems we have in the system is the issue of capability. Now, you are giving intelligence that people are mustering in a particular place. What can you do? What technology do you have to deal with the situation? How many aircraft can you deploy? How many artillery can you deploy? Accurately, serviceable ones. So these are the challenges. So if you have, for instance, I give an instance in Plateau State, where I did some jobs some few weeks back. You find out that when something happens in a place, say 2 kilometers from where the soldiers are deployed, the 2 kilometers journey can take you like 5 hours because of the rugged terrain of those places. So these are some of the challenges that the military is having. So when issues happen, people say, they happened and they're just about 1 kilometer from soldiers. How can you get to the position? The capability of getting to that place is a challenge. Do you have assault helicopters? Does the Army have? Only the Air Force have that capability for now. The Army does not have that. So it's a challenge. So these are some of the problems we're having. So also the technology to be applied to be able to reach those places on time, even if you don't have these copters, if you have certain things like drones, capable drones, you can also use them. But how many do you have? The quantity and quality do you have? So these are some of the challenges.
Now, General, you did talk about, the civil component of national security not doing enough. Yes, indeed, I tend to agree with you on that because, when earlier this year, towards the end of last year, I was at the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Jaji, and there was this issue of the whole of society approach to national security. And here also you've talked about a holistic approach to national security, but it requires a lot. Training, orientation, public enlightenment, training in intelligence gathering among the civil populace. Someone is expected to drive this initiative, and I think the ball is right back in the court of the Nigerian Armed Forces, and they are not doing this. So if the civil component of national security is not doing well, I think the Nigerian Armed Forces also has to take the blame, shouldn't they?
No, they should not, because there are outfits like the National Orientation Agency. That is their responsibility.
But they don't have the capacity, they don't have the technical know-how.
So you don't put the blame to the military. Do we have the capability?
Yes, I mean, this is national security. So when it comes to issues of security, then, General, I think that is the responsibility of the armed forces either way, even when it comes to training and orientation.
No, it's a national issue. It shouldn't be thrown to the military. It's a national issue that everybody should be involved in this. The military, the civil company should be involved. But there are agencies, specifically are marked to be able to enlighten the society. National Orientation Agency is one of those organizations. Federal Ministry of Information is one. And at state level, we have all these ministries and other agencies that should be able to train and organize all these things. But when they are not pulling their weight, you don't put everything on the military. The military has limitations.
The military has the security know-how.
Yes.
They can only use these organizations as vehicles, but the know-how actually comes from the military. Are they sharing it?
Yes, we are sharing it. We are also training some civilian components. That is why when you went to that GRG operation, I'm sure you would have seen some civilians being trained. If you go to Command and Staff College, if you go to National Defense College, you go to the civil military war colleges, you see civilian components being brought in to be trained on how to handle these things. But specifically, there are agencies that is their responsibility, they are budgeted for, that should take over those responsibilities of training, enlightening the civilians. NOAA, like I said, is one of those agencies. Federal Ministry of Information is one of those agencies.
All right, General. Something that we see that continually happens is that when an area or a community is hit by these so-called terrorists, why is it that after these areas are cleared, they often relapse into insecurity again?
Yeah, the issue is that there are not enough boots on the ground. That is one. Two, the technology is inadequate. That's two. So these are two major components. But let me thank the president for having approved the establishment of a more training area, more depots for the Nigerian military, and also have encouraged the recruitment of more men. We hope that when this number of men are trained and the depots have come into play, then we'll be able to have more boots on the ground. And like I said, the civil component that is supposed to be passing some of these informations are not even doing that, but rather collaborating with those agencies because of fear or intimidation by those agencies, those criminals, to come back and kill them. So these are some of the challenges we have.
It looks like there have been so much rhetoric, so much solution profiled to in addressing this, and the North being the hotbed of this. Most of these attacks had a recent Northern Governors Forum meeting where they highlighted religious intolerance, the need to place a ban on mining activities, and also the need for state policing. So it appears that there is absence of political will to take a firm stance on the enactment of state policing in the country, because you said that, just like Yolanda asked you, that there is usually a reprisal, and there is no guarantee that those areas attacked are usually the prime target again. Yes. But if there was a military, the Nigerian military, intervening in an area, and there's a state policing structure to do that mop-up exercise, don't you think that this would address the lingering security question?
Yes, I totally agree with you that there's need for the state policing to come on board. Well, how many of our governors have shown interest?
No, they all agreed.
Yeah, but what are they doing about it?
Initially, it was issue of funding, but now that there is an increase in allocation of funds to the state governors, they are now ready. They have expressed their readiness for state policing. Yeah,
if the president has given the go-ahead, so what is delaying the state governors from doing that?
No, that it needs to pass through the National Assembly.
So that's the political we are talking about. What is the National Assembly doing about
No, but when the president wants a loan from the National Assembly, there is usually an express way in which they pass it overnight.
So
why are we having this sloppy response
so we should hold
to a very important issue as state policing?
Yeah, we should hold the National Assembly responsible for that. The National Assembly and the state assemblies, we should hold them responsible for that.
You don't think that the president needs to put pressure and let them see that indeed his body language, his countenance and everything mean well for the issue of state policing in the country?
If the president has given a go-ahead, does he require anybody to start romancing the idea?
No, he should send the draft bill as you normally send to the National Assembly.
You see, it boils down to the issue of political will. But having said that, maybe the government can also come up with private military contractors. If such a bill comes aboard and allow, like you have in other countries where you have the private military contractors, they can be established to also help, to assist the local vigilantes, where the military another security agency may not be able to enter, these people might be able to do that. Just like we are talking about the forest guards. But the forest guard, again, if you look at the structure of the forest guard, it's grossly inadequate for me. You know, the forest guard, I believe, should be manned by retired military personnel who have, or security agencies that have been in the field. They have been able to be in the forest for months to be able to actually see forest guard. But when you carry a civilian who's maybe from one Ministry of Agri or Ministry of Works and you make him head of forest guard, what are we doing? We play with a lot of things in this country.
General, I would like to bring us back to the issue of what we describe as ungoverned spaces.
Good.
And there are lots of them. I've been in Niger State, particularly in the Borgo Emirate and specifically Agwara local government area, and I have seen ungoverned spaces. But on the night that the hitherto abducted children were returned to their school and parents in Papiri community, I also noticed the heavy presence of military officers. I mean, it was the evening, but so many vehicles and so many soldiers there. And then after the return of the children, you know, they drove back to their base in New Busa, I believe. Now, the next day we went around and we saw that the whole area was so vulnerable. And they said, if the military authorities have been here, what stops them from actually establishing forward operating bases in these ungoverned, vulnerable areas? At least it would actually show that there is a willingness to counter the threat of bandits operating in that area. That was not done, and unfortunately we had a massacre taking place in Kaswan Daji. So is it not a failure on the part of military authorities to assess accurately the outcome of certain expected actions on the part of terrorists?
Well, it is not easy for you to push the blame to the military. Like I said, there are inadequate boots on the ground. The ungoverned spaces are so many in this country that the military, even if you line up the military chain to chain, arm to arm, we can't cover the ungoverned spaces. You know, thank God the president has given the mandate for more recruitment. Maybe that will help. But presently, it's not going to be possible to cover all ungoverned spaces. What is the strength of the military? Nigerian
But at
military?
least make an effort in covering the spaces that are vulnerable, where you have, you know, bandits within, because these bandits
Yes.
operate within a 20-kilometer radius.
But
So you can't, of course, cover all the ungoverned spaces, but the ones that are particularly vulnerable to attacks, those are the ones I'm talking about.
But you should understand there are other agencies too that are involved. How about the police? How about the civil defense? What are they doing?
Do they have the capacity to
These
deal
are the
with
issues we're talking
people
about.
who carry
These are the-
those kinds of arms?
Those
that
are the
these
issues I
bandits
raised
have?
earlier on to you, that the issue of capability and capacity is a problem across all the security agencies.
General, you've spoken about the challenges with the capabilities, with these security challenges. Let's look more at what solutions can be preferred.
One of the
What
major
must-
solutions
Yes, what must
is-
Nigeria
is
do?
the political will by our leaders. Once the political will is there to say, okay, recruit more men, just like the president has given directive to recruit more military men, recruit more policemen, and train them. Then also equip them, not just training them, equip them with the necessary technology, with the necessary equipment to deal with the security situation. And also to carry the people along. The various communities, the community leaders, the traditional rulers need to be carried along. The youths, the traders, the National Union of Road Transport, because they see movements, you know. So these are the issues. Everybody should be carried. It's a national problem, so it should be a holistic problem.
Okay, before we wrap up, we've seen, just let me go that cycle again, the sloppy response to intelligence being made available. Now, what do you make of it? Because this is spewing a narrative that there is an infiltration of terrorist elements in our defense, military, and intelligence architecture.
Yeah, like I said earlier on, that one of the major problems has always been the capability. Even when you have the intelligence and you don't have the capability.
No, I'm talking about infiltration of criminal elements, terrorist elements in in the Nigerian military?
Moles, fifth columnists.
Well, that happens anywhere where you have issue of insurgency. That happens.
So how should this be purged?
Because you see, recruitment policies are done at the local government level, and state governments do recruitment, not the military. You know, recruitments are done through local government areas, and they are the ones that are supposed to vet their people and then pass them to the military.
No, you can't rely on local chiefs.
Because the people come from the local government areas. The people
they can only approve, but the real profiling is the job of the military.
Yes, we also do that, but we might not be able to be 100% correct about it. Because I believe that in every local government area, you have the DSS. When the local government submit their names.
Do you agree that your inability to achieve 100% in having a thorough recruitment process is a price for a big gamble for the Nigerian military?
Yes, well, weak recruitment process is a problem. I can agree to that. The weak recruitment process is a problem, but it is a nationalist problem. It's not just the military problem.
Okay.
When you have some civilians, traditional ruler, bringing people from their village, say, okay, you must recruit this person. You must. So these are the issues.
Unfortunately, General Ibe, we are pressed for time and we just have to go. Thank you very much indeed for making our time to join us live on Daybreak. Thank you very much for insightful contributions. I hope that our leaders, once again, are listening. And that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Benga Ashur. It's goodbye from me.
And I'm Charles Eruka. Thanks so much for joining us on Daybreak today.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.